Just this morning, the White House announced President Biden plans to grant clemency to 78 people, his first such action since taking office. 3 will get full pardons, while the remaining 75 will see their sentences commuted. All but 1 are serving sentences for nonviolent drug offenses. The move comes as the White House announces several new measures intended to overhaul the criminal justice system by relying less on prison to punish nonviolent drug offenders and to use employment programs to prevent those formerly incarcerated from returning to prison. Let's bring into the conversation White House Domestic Policy Advisor and Director of the Domestic Policy Council, Susan Rice. Susan, it's good to see you this morning. So tell us a little bit more about this program and the president's decision. How did he choose these 78 people who were incarcerated? What kind of offenses were they in jail for? And what is the goal, not just for them, but for nonviolent drug offenders going forward?
Well, good morning, Willie. It's good to be back with you. Let me put this in context. First of all, April is known as Second Chance Month, the month in which we recognize the value and the humanity of offering a second chance to those who have made major mistakes in their lives, and particularly those who are returning from prison. The president announced today 2 important steps. One, as you mentioned, were the commutations of 75 nonviolent drug offenders who on average had served almost 10 years of their sentences, many of whom had been on home confinement successfully during COVID, and 3 full pardons. But in addition to that, Willie, we're announcing today a set of very expansive actions, 20 actions by 12 agencies that taken together will make it easier and better for those who are coming out of prison to get jobs, get housing, get back on their feet. Why are we doing this? Not just because it's the humane thing to do, but because it's the smart thing to do to fight crime. Back in June, the president laid out a comprehensive strategy to fight violent crime and gun crime. It's putting many more cops on the street to do accountable policing. It's funding the police. It's taking ghost guns and other violent and other deadly weapons out of the hands of criminals and going after repeat offenders. It's about community violence intervention efforts that help prevent violence in our communities. It's about putting in place the kinds of strategies that reduce the overall risk of violence, including education, housing, and the like. But one piece of that comprehensive strategy, Willie, is helping formerly incarcerated people get back on their feet so that they're not going back and committing further crimes, that they are able to be productive members of society. So that's what this piece of the pillar is about.
Ambassador Rice, good morning. It's Jonathan Lemire. The president's granted his first full pardons. I wanted to ask you about one in particular, Abraham Bolden, who's the first black Secret Service agent assigned to a presidential detail. He faced federal bribery charges that he attempted to sell a copy of Secret Service file. A witness later admitted that he had lied. Explain to us why this particular case moved the president. Tell us a little bit more about him.
This man was the first African-American Secret Service officer. He's 86 years old. He was wrongfully convicted of a crime that now most everybody believes he did not commit. And he has waited all his life, having lived and tried to serve honorably, for his name to be cleared. And I think the president felt very passionately that he was extremely deserving of this full pardon.
It's called the Incarceration to Employment Program. Admirable effort to get some low-level nonviolent drug offenders and keep them out of prison now that they're out. I do want to ask you, in your role as Domestic Policy Advisor, Ambassador Rice, about what you see with the economy right now. Obviously, historically low unemployment, more jobs than we can fill, and yet inflation also up at the highest levels we haven't seen since about 40 years ago. This is a political problem, as you know very well, going into the midterm elections, but more importantly, it's a real-world problem for people at the gas tank or the grocery store. What can you do from where you sit? What can the president do from where he sits to bring these prices down?
Well, Willie, as you said, there's much good news in the economy with record low unemployment rates, more people back in the workforce, wages going up. But yes, inflation is a real concern, and it's painful for most families. And so what the president is trying to do is first of all, reduce the factors that are contributing to inflation, our supply chain challenges, working to reduce gas prices by letting more of our petroleum reserves out into the market, coordinating with allies to reduce the global prices through increased supply, working on the food price challenge as well. So we are working to approach this in a comprehensive way. But Willie, the reality is the inflation we're facing, a lot of it is a function of what is happening with Russia's brutal invasion of Ukraine and the price impacts of Putin's policies, both on energy and on food. And this is a global challenge that we're facing. It's not only in the United States where we're seeing elevated prices, it's all over the world. And so we are going to take all the steps that the president has at his disposal. Obviously, the Federal Reserve has an important role to play, but this is an effort we're going to work also in tandem with partners around the world.
Americans now paying as much as $5 a gallon for gas in some places. White House domestic policy advisor Susan Rice joining us this morning from the White House. Ambassador Rice, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it. Mika?
All right. And coming up on Morning Joe, they've been a staple in presidential elections since 1960. But after the RNC voted to withdraw from Commission on Presidential Debate Events, could we have the first presidential election in 5 decades without the candidates facing off? Steve Kornacki joins us next with a historical look back to explain why debates matter.